Hey guys, I hope that this is getting the right angle, but I'm going to show you how to make these today. So already forged them with my baling pliers. Now you can get a jig. You can even, I think they even sell like, tools and things to create your own ear wires, but I have been forging mine for years. So even for my medieval jewelry, I might use these baling pliers. They're nice thicker barrel. And a lot of times for those, I will cold forge, and I only have to anneal for my, I'm going to say 14 gauge and larger. And remember with your gauges that the lower the gauge, the thicker the wire. Look, I've got some, I probably rehung it. I've got some thicker copper gauge there. And I used to have, here we go. Got this nice roll. That's some heavy duty gauge. We're gonna say that's probably an 8 or a 10. All right, so that I have to anneal first. But at any rate, for these, no annealing required. These are usually I make them out of a 20 gauge to 22 out of either sterling silver or argentium silver. And then for the economic designs, they will be a copper core with a like a sterling silver layer over that is non-tarnished because a coating is put on those for the economic. But these are the sterling because it's for this design that people do have an option for a sterling ear hook, and I wrapped these this morning. These are made of Swarovski crystal, and if you'll notice, they have great color play. You can see it better in daylight, but you can see some even in artificial light. See that nice blue core in there? And then I wire wrapped and secured with twisted wire over. This is some wonderful filigree, like a Victorian filigree, but I am going to show you how I hammer these. So I forged them, and I actually, once I forge one, and then after I do the other, I will place them on, together and make sure that overall they're very similar and uniform. So then usually I have two hands for this. So this is kind of weird, and I don't want it to fly off of my small anvil. I do put this on the smaller anvil because I try to keep this one not as dented and more scar free, as I have very carefully at times done some heavy duty copper on this one, and you can see we have lots of indentations, and I like to keep the sterling, the fine wires and fine jewelry I do very nice and smooth. So that's why it's on this anvil. So what I do is, you don't want to get this part right up in here because, that's where you want it on the ear, and you don't want any, you don't want it to be flattened and sharp. You want to keep it nice and round there, the round wire. So what I do is I hammer from about down here at this point, and you don't have to hammer this portion if you don't want to, but many times I do. I just like the look myself, so you can do it either way, but pretty much it's just about that hard. I'm going to try to hit it once, but you can see how it's wanting to angle up here. My helper hand is generally there. So I'm going to give it one. Okay, so that's a lot softer than I normally do it. I give it some good hits, usually 1, 2, 3. We'll do it there. I'm keeping it flat. All right, so let's check it out. Usually I get a little bit of a heavier hit on it, but you can see how it starts to, it goes from your round wire to a more flattened look through here. And obviously when I get these on, you can see how small the bail hole is. Now I do this in a necklace pendant also, and for that one I use my baler wires, and this little hole here is generally quite a bit larger because then I'll cut some solid sterling silver chain for that pendant, and then I will forge the loops and hook, because I do it very much like a medieval style. Or a lot of people like the lobster clasp. So sometimes with these sterling silver designs, the chain is very fine. I will do a lobster clasp, but that lobster clasp itself is always hand wired on with my sterling silver wire, and I'll use like a smaller gauge. The higher the number, once again, the smaller the wire. So I'll use like I want to say a 24 gauge to wire on the lobster clasp when I make a pendant out of these. And the reason I do that is I like to do all of my own forging and work as much as possible. And then also, you know, then I'm not having to track down like a lot of industrial supplies. I can just forge my own. So there you have it. There's this one, and then if you can see the difference, it's generally more noticeable when I can use my helper hand because I get a harder strike on it. But there's the comparison. I know it seems like there's not much of a difference, but there is. This is flatter through here, and you can see the curvature when it's on the ear. Okay, so you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.